Good morning and welcome to the Berks County Board of Elections meeting. Today is October the 9th. It is 11 a.m. and we will call the meeting to order. We'll get started by reading the public comment notice, and I will ask Veronica Lepore to please read the notice.
Good morning. Thank you. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used, Teams Q&A. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the county's discretion. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue. The county shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any response to public comment will be done at the county's discretion.
Okay, thank you very much, Veronica. Do we have any public comment on agenda items online? We do not have any online. We do not have any in person either. Now move to the approval of the minutes for the September 25, 2025 election board meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? If none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Move on to the agenda items. We have 3 items on the agenda today. The first one is a polling place change for the 2025 municipal election. And it is a temporary polling place change just for this election upcoming now in 4 weeks. And it is for the City of Reading Ward 18, Precinct 4, to move it from St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church on Wyomissing Avenue to the Tomasano Auto Park, also on East Wyomissing Avenue. So it's maybe a block or 2 down from each other. Again, this is temporary. There's something going on at the church that day, and they are not able to accommodate us for this election.
I'll make a motion to approve the change from St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church to Tomasano Auto Park.
I will second that. We have a motion and a second, and we have comments.
So little concerning. As a rule, we try not to change this late in the game. Can you provide some more detail on why this is absolutely necessary?
Good morning. Yeah, you're right. We don't like changing polling places. The church had reached out to us and asked us if we could not use them this time because they had some sort of a conflict. I don't know what it is. And, we really didn't have a choice on this one. If they're not available, we needed to find a suitable replacement.
Would it be possible to have signs at the church saying that the voting place is at the Tomasano Auto Park with the address on there? It's down the block, but if we have some signs there that way, and we do send notices out to all the voters in that precinct, but if they don't get the notice or they don't read it, they show up. Can we have, 2 or 3 signs there?
So you're right. The voters, will be notified that this is a temporary change for this election. And we can also put signs at the church. It's not a problem.
Yeah. It's also important at the Tomasano Auto Park. That's fairly big there. If we have directional signs as well.
The new polling location. Yes.
Okay.
I just would, I don't know what the circumstances are. Convenience. Even for convenience sake, I really don't like moving something like this. And maybe in the future, in the agreements we have, make it very, very clear that we're not going to change a location after a certain date for convenience. And again, I don't know, maybe there could be it could be any number of things that are serious, but the fact that we don't know what it is, it just concerns me a little bit because I don't want to do anything that discourages voters from voting on election day, and that can do that. So my piece has been said.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. The motion carries. Item number 2 is the approval of the date range for absentee and mail-in ballot segregations for the 2025 municipal election. Just a reminder, as of now, the ballots that are undated or incorrectly dated will still be counted, but this is a range for the segregation, and it will be approval of the date from September the 30th to November the 4th. September the 30th is the first day the counter ballots were available, and November the 4th is election day. So any ballots received in that range, even though if they are misdated or undated, they will be segregated. They will be counted, but because we don't know if there will be any changes in the law between now and then, or even between now and when we have to certify the count, if there's any change, we have them segregated.
I'll make a motion to approve the date range.
Okay, I will second that. Any discussion?
Just one comment, date your ballot, date it properly, be safe.
Yeah.
Because we never know what's going to happen, and we've had the rules change after the fact in the past.
We've received so far 3,060 ballots, and there were some that were not signed, not dated, or incorrectly dated. So yes, please be attentive to that, sign it, date it, just in case. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed. The motion carries. We'll now move to item number 3, which is an update on Center for Coalfield Justice versus Washington County. And I will ask our solicitor, Cody Kaufman, to provide us an update on this.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning, Election Board. This case originated out of Washington County. Prior to the November 2024 election, Washington County adopted a policy which required the county to enter all mail-in and absentee ballots received back into the SURE system as received, rather than a more specific SURE system code, such as pending or canceled. For example, there are specific codes that deal with, no signature or an issue with the date. So in short, Washington County was using a generic code rather than a specific code that may apply to ballots. What this meant is that voters with issues with their ballot, such as an incorrect date, a missing date, or a missing signature, would not receive notice that there may be an issue with their ballot, because certain codes in the SURE system generate different emails to voters. So for example, the received code generates a different notification than the code for a missing signature, a missing date, or something like that. The case ended up going from Washington County to the Commonwealth Court all the way up to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, who issued a decision last Friday. And within that decision, the court found that Washington County violated those voters' procedural due process rights when they, quote, segregated electors, presumptively disqualified ballots, and then via unnecessarily opaque coding in the SURE system, knowingly triggered an email notice to electors that affirmatively misled them about their voting rights. So in short, what the opinion requires is for county boards of elections to notify voters of errors with their absentee or mail-in ballots, of which the board is aware, by appropriately coding in the SURE system.
Which we do.
Correct, we do.
This allows,
Yeah.
and this allows, if it's properly coded, it sends out an email. If you have an email in the system telling the person, hey, you're missing a signature, you're missing a date, come in and cure the ballot. Again, if you're missing a date or it's the wrong date, as of now, it will still be counted, but we would still encourage you to come and cure it in case the law changes between now and certification. But in Berks County, we do that. So this has no impact whatsoever on Berks County. We have always entered to correct code, allowing that email to go out and notifying, if we have the email address on file, notifying the voter that they do need to come in to cure their ballot. So it is counted. So, but good update, but it does not have any effect on Berks County.
That's correct.
So several items. One, this is, I don't believe, is new to even Act 77. There's as more and more people filed their voter registration to include an email, the notification was able to go out by email when it was received, and it was coded, right?
Yeah, so I believe a few years back, they added additional
Code.
QR codes, and Ann can correct me on this. But I do believe previously there were various sure codes. They were a little more generic, but as we started to see issues with signature date, things like that, additional categories were added.
So what this is not is you hear people talk about curing.
Correct.
We are not going in, looking, calling people. This is a matter of, if you gave us an email, we will code the receipt properly.
Correct.
And what people need to know, secondly, is if there's not a signature, that ballot isn't going to count.
Correct.
The date, you should come in, if it doesn't have a date, you should come in and do that, because we had the incident 23, I believe it was, that the federal
Yes.
Western District Court, when
November
the state said
2023.
it had to be dated, they switched in, it was undated. And in 22, in July, the Supreme Court said it does not need to be dated. And 2 weeks roughly before the election, the Supreme Court reversed itself, Pennsylvania, and said it had to be dated, and people had already sent their ballots in. So this is, looking at this email is important. What was Washington County's defense for why they ignored the codes? Because these are not codes in the Washington County system. These are codes in the single database known as the SURE system, correct?
Yeah, so the codes aren't specific to Washington County. I don't know specifically, what their defense was. As I understand it, they were previously utilizing the codes, but then prior to, I believe, the November 2024 election, they changed that policy to include a more generic SURE system coding. So
I just don't know what the purpose would be.
Yeah, I've kind of had those same kind of thoughts and have kind of tried to figure it out on my end. I've not really been able to come up with a good answer in that regard. I'm not sure if, they just didn't want to implement, a notice of cure or any sort of curing. I don't know if it was related to that, but, essentially what the court found is by just using the generic code, essentially it's while counties aren't required to implement notice and cure, this was just a step too far in terms of what they did.
So my last question and potential point, and just so you know, I don't go over these with you in advance. Do you know if there was a split, or whether this was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court, PA Supreme Court?
I do know the Commonwealth Court was 2-1. And I can tell you 1 second what the Supreme Court was. So the Supreme Court, the majority opinion was authored by Justice Dougherty, Justice Wecht, Justice Donahue, and McCaffrey joined. And then there was a dissenting opinion by Justice Brobson, in which Justice Mundy joined. And there's a separate dissenting opinion also by Justice Mundy as well.
That's interesting.
Yes. And I can say Justice Brobson's dissenting opinion, it took a different view, and they didn't believe that there was an attempt to mislead or misinform voters, but they kind of more so relied upon the whole issue of notice and cure as a whole should be addressed legislatively rather than.
Well, no, I don't disagree with that, but the caution for any other comment from me is I wasn't in the courtroom to hear the case, plaintiff, defendant, et cetera. So just curious, because it seemed very odd to me.
It is an odd circumstance, I will say. So.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Cody. We'll now move on to the election director's report. Ann.
So as of today, I can say that our ballot printer has mailed out over 21,000, close to 22,000 mail-in ballots. We have received back a little bit over 3,000. And I can mention that we are receiving those at our new mail-in ballot processing center. So we have moved out of the former location. We are now at 600 Penn Street processing these, and that's where we'll be on election day as well.
And just for people's information, that's the old Wells Fargo.
It is the
building.
correct, right? Old Wells Fargo.
The corner of 6th and Penn.
Right, it's across from CVS there, right? Poll worker and interpreter training began this past week, so that's moving along. We are still confirming poll workers, but anyone interested should absolutely reach out to our office. And if we have a fit, we will certainly reach out. I think that's about all.
Okay, and we have had people come in to do the over-the-counter voting.
Over-the-counter voting is available. Yes,
Okay.
between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
8 a.m. and 5 p.m. and that is open until October the 28th. You cannot come in after the 28th to vote over the counter, and that is because over the counter voting is just basically coming in, requesting a mail-in ballot, filling it out and returning it as you would if you requested it to be mailed to your home. And the deadline to request a mail-in ballot is October the 28th. Therefore, over-the-counter voting deadline is the 28th. Just to remind everyone again, you are voting a paper ballot. You are not coming in to vote on a machine. In Pennsylvania, there is no true early voting. It's all on paper. When you come in to early vote, we highly encourage you to bring your ID to vote, but just as if you would go vote at a poll, you do not need your ID to do that, but it does help move the process along. So please help. Let's share that information.
So question, I voted by that means, I think the second day of.
You did.
Was able to do that. The ID, it asks for either your Social Security or your driver's license. If you provide the ID, it's much quicker.
That's exactly right. It's just a quicker
If you don't
process.
provide the ID, explain what happens.
I'm actually going to go to Sylvia on that. As she processes these, she can probably explain it clearer.
Good morning, Commissioner. So basically, the system does the check in the background. So we just have to wait for that check to clear versus when we have an ID in front of us, we can verify it automatically and manually, and that allows us to process it much quicker.
Okay. It's important people understand it. So bring it and it'll go quicker. Number two, and I didn't get to respond to your email. We've had, I think, 3 people reach out about missing the second page of the ballot. It doesn't appear that's the case. I wanted to comment, when I voted downstairs, I didn't initially even notice there was a second page. They're put together in such a way, they're together. I looked because I realized, okay, where the retention questions, and then I realized they're real tight together, and I didn't have to appeal it, but I can see somebody not being careful and thinking it's blank on the back because it's a 2-page ballot.
Right. So for some precincts, just based on the number of contests or the number of candidates, it does go onto the back, or if there's a second language, it
Right.
would go onto the back of the first sheet. Every precinct has the 8 judicial retention questions on a separate
Sheet.
of paper. And we do have an indication wherever the ballot ends, either on the front or the back of that first sheet, that they're either going to the next sheet for those judicial retention questions.
Just encourage people to be aware.
Bless
You
you.
have the internal yellow envelope that you need to put it in, all of those things. Everyone will be fine if they just take a moment to go through the steps.
Right. And there are very clear instructions with each mailing.
And the outer envelope is clear as it has ever been on signature and date, in my opinion. And the year is already added
Pre-filled,
in,
yeah.
so somebody can't The only way they could mess up the year is if for some reason they decide they want to change the year, and then they're in trouble.
Right. But I think we found that a lot of voters were putting their birth date. So to avoid that,
Yep.
we put the current year.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Okay. Any other general comments from the board regarding current election-related issues? Okay, we'll move to public comment. We have one in person. Jeff, if you want to come up, mention your name, municipality, and Sylvia, will you be keeping the time? All right, Jeff?
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Wolf from Brecknock Township. The district election inspectors have a duty to examine the signature of every person who presents themselves at the polling place to vote. I suspect that some inspectors may not take this requirement seriously, and they should not permit the curing, as far as I know, or they should not allow the voter to see their signature. In my opinion, the signature comparison is an important security and validation procedure that should not be abandoned. It should apply to the mail ballots as well, and I understand that this is a legislative matter. Title 25 of Section 1402, District Registers, it reads in part, immediately following each election, the commission shall cause each district register to be examined. The commission specifically shall compare the signature of each elector on each voter's certificate with his signature in the district register and shall report in writing to the district attorney any evidence or indication of probable fraud, impersonation, or forgery which may appear to the commission by reason of the comparison. Now, I guess this is after the fact, so fraud may have occurred already, but nevertheless, it has value, I think. It may have some value in terms of justice and a deterrence factor too. So my recommendation to the board would be this. It is most probable that some signatures on the voter certificate, the poll book, will not match the digitized signatures in the register. The election board should make public, like a post on the website, the number of referrals made to the district attorney respective to signature discrepancies based on this post-election examination of the certificates. If no discrepancies are discovered, that should be made known to the public as well. And Mr. Kaufman, if I'm wrong about that particular statute, that's 1402, if that's extinct, I'm open to being corrected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Do we have any comments online? Nothing online and nothing else in person either.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The meeting is adjourned.